segregation days?
That was, Maurice Strider was the other black faculty member. He came on board a couple of years after I was at Morehead. He was in the art department, and he was basically, he came on board. Betty Jean Dickerson. Betty Jean was a student and a cousin, and so she came to Morehead when I was there. I was teaching, and she took a class from me. Jerry Gore. Jerry also was he said, this is a 1 hour health class. And he said, you're really bringing it. And I said, well, Jerry, the students drive me when I teach. If I find a class that is really able to handle, then we move forward. But, if we have to drag along, we'll do that. But Jerry and Betty Jean, I think, represented the second wave of successful black students at Morehead. Betty finished her PhD in sociology at Washington State University. And she is now chairman of sociology at American University. Very prolific writer. She spends a lot of time in South Africa to look at the transition of cultures with African culture and American culture. They are, I look at the first group. Howard Smith was really the true first black basketball player who got a chance to. He was playing, he was going through, but again, there were a lot of problems they were running into. And Smitty never got a chance to really demonstrate how well he could play. He played some limited, but as soon as Howard left Morehead, he joins the Harlem Globetrotters. Well, he became a part of the Globetrotters because they had two teams, the Washington Generals, that they play every game, and then they had their squad. And so Howard played with the Generals for a while. He played with the Globetrotters for a while, but he toured all over the world. And he became a part of the NBA. That the Globetrotters are recognized as professional athletes who participated in the NBA. Bruce King, Lamar Green, these guys were all inducted into the Hall of Fame. I was really pleased to see that they finally recognized that these guys had really made the transition. They were out there on the firing line. Hobo Jackson and the gang, they played. I remember sometimes Murph would come in. I know his first year, the first game was absolutely something. He said, Marsh, they are holding me up. The first guy would hold me up, and the next two guys would take a shot at him. And he just absolutely, he said, but he was able then to manipulate around that stuff. And I said, a basketball player, if I got hit like that, it had to be a flagrant. But he was, it was a different, situation for him. But there are a lot of, I think the success of the crew. It was, I say, sort of biased from the crew from Ashland. But again, I say Ashland was an extremely unique community that if we decided to go to college, we were equipped to do that. And that's why I was looking at Morehead itself, as I go back, and I never vetting colleges and as we do now. And, I didn't get a chance to ask the question, how many black students had graduated from Morehead State? Or, is this idea of diversity in your plan, Dr. Dorn, or have you, these are questions that, I'm throwing out there now as for any student considering, especially, African American students considering looking at Morehead. Take a look at that and ask that question. When was the last time the board and the president got together to upgrade this concept of integration? And I say integration because that was a successful transition as far as academic transitions. So if you look at the Head Start programs or any of the other programs, billions of dollars have been spent. The one program that we really find that makes a difference is the difference in reference to integration. Integrating schools was huge. In Ashland, the way they did it in this transition was that in 1956, the first grade was integrated. And Ashland's board said that this is how we're going to do it. Every year until that first group gets to the sixth grade, we'll integrate the next grade and the next grade. And when they got to the sixth grade, they just integrated the whole system. That was Ashland's model to follow. So, most universities had not gone to any model. There was no affirmative action at that time. So the model that we were following was what we set. It was the model for Dr. Doran to say, let's look at athletics, and possibly we can do that. But at the same time, we had other students come on board that we weren't in athletics. You could look around at the Big Ten or some of the other schools, and if you saw a black athlete competing, they were there to compete, and that was their primary reason. And so later on, now we get into this issue of affirmative action, into this diversity question. And so now we can ask the question, how many black students are there? How are you, attracting the black students? Is there a support group? Is there mentoring and monitoring of the activities? And I think what I've read with Dr. Andrews and the board of what they're doing now is commendable, because they're asking these questions. They're wanting to know, what can we do to attract all students? The STEM concept with our students, the education concepts, and so forth. And so I think the university is fulfilling a really super mission that we're looking for. So those are some of the pieces that I wanted to play basketball, and that was a major impact that I was looking for.
Dr. Banks, this is a very deep question here, but what has Morehead State meant to you?
Well, as I was saying, I was getting to, I started teaching, if I consider my time that I was teaching at Illinois as a grad assistant in 1962. And I finished in 2012. And so 50 years, that's a lot of time and a lot of experience itself. And each time I begin to look at the preparation. Did Morehead prepare me really to go to Illinois, to become a graduate student and participate with all top students throughout the United States? And that matter from all over the world. And it did. It gave me that preparation. And I look at the hiccup that I had with the transition of not playing basketball. It still was okay. I remember when Coach Bentley grabbed me. I was walking down I was in front of Breckenridge. And he just happened to pull over and he said, Marshall, you still are going to run track, aren't you? I said, Coach, I really don't. I don't think so. He said, you got it. Yeah. I promise you, that nonsense that you went through with that basketball team will never happen. So, yeah, it took a while, and I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. If I hadn't done that, I'd probably transferred or done some other things. But it was, that experience was there. I never had any problem. Bentley related the story to me when I went back to receive the Founders Day Award from Morehead. And he said, let me tell you something. We had the OVC championship at Middle Tennessee, in Murfreesboro. And so we get there and pull into the Murfreesboro motel, and the manager comes running out waving. He said, oh no, Coach, you didn't tell me Banks was on the team. And so Bentley said, what difference does it make? He's on there. Oh no, Coach, no, you can't do this. We got to work out some arrangement. So he said that, you can stay at the motel, but you're going to have to eat in the kitchen. We cannot have you in the dining room with it. And Coach, okay, we'll go. He was ready to leave. He was ready to pull up everybody. We were going to someplace else or whatever. At that time, the kitchen staff really hooked me up. I probably was so heavy I couldn't run. But he said, but the only problem I didn't tell you, he said, there was a white car parked across the street with 4 guys in it. And he said, they were a part of the Klan. And he said, look, they were just waiting to see what activity was going to take place. He said, I would have never told you that, because if I'd tell you said you would probably been so upset you were not going to run. But he just said, He said, I was worried. I was so much, because that whole incident itself was such that I could not understand why, this was the case. Why, we get down there and then the manager goes through this, no incident at all, but just the attitude itself. And he made sure that any time we went someplace, that everything was fair. But, as I say, that incident itself, I was able to put it away. But I was asked while I was teaching at Howard, they were looking for they were celebrating a program, the Plessy Ferguson celebration in 1996. And it was 100 years. In 1896, the Plessy Ferguson ruling was that in this public accommodation and travel, Plessy had purchased a first-class ticket to travel from Chicago to New Orleans, and once he got to the state line in Illinois, crossing into Tennessee, he was asked to move back to the colored section. His argument was that I purchased this, first class, and I don't need to move. And so that initiated a whole issue in reference to that. And so I was asked to present my story about integrating and about being the first black athlete in the Ohio Valley Conference, just to get some perspective as to research that beginning to put together to understand the whole situation. So I was okay, Stephen, until I got to a part where I was explaining why I had selected to go to Morehead State. I broke down and cried. That was the first time ever that I had that type of experience. It just overwhelmed me. It was like a delayed stress issue. All along, I said, I was there, these incidents occurred or whatever, but it just came down on me. The crowd, people attending the session, they said, well, now we can understand that some of us who did it were, successful, some of us weren't successful, some of us had delayed issues. And with me, it was a very, very delayed situation. So I go back and ask myself, really was that worth the effort to go to Morehead and go through that issue? My brother Reese looked at that and he decided he was going to Kentucky State. He said, I'm not going to go any place. And he had, a similar high school record in reference to basketball, and everybody wanted him. And he was even drafted by the Cincinnati Reds to play baseball. He was that good. He'll receive, this month of August, he's going to go back to Ashland and be inducted into the Ashland Little League Baseball Hall of Fame. He's excited about doing that. But as I say, it made me reassess what that situation was about. And I honestly did not have the regret of selecting Morehead. I guess, the support I had around me with the other gang there. Jim Scobie was on the track team, and Jim and I roomed together when we were on traveling. When I was inducted into the Hall of Fame, he introduced me to the to the audiences because he knew that I would travel in the incidents that I would run into, and why I would go to the back straight and warm up back there. But as again I say, if in fact I had the opportunity to do some vetting of the university and ask these questions, is there a support group that I'll be able to get through? It wasn't there then, it is there now. It has a very presence of doing that. And I'm pleased, again, I'm pleased to see that particular activity. I was able to join the campus club. And the campus club was, we had no fraternities or sororities at that particular time, but it was a very well organized men's group. And the campus club brothers are all over. Buford Krieger, Buford and I are still in contact, and we will, it is a good group. But for me, to have that type of social relationship while I was at Morehead, that they again said, we would like for you to become a part of the brotherhood on the campus itself. Spoke well of how the Morehead community really accepted, not only me, but everyone. All the black students were accepted. We never had another issue. The only black student I know who left under sort of duress was Art Hastings. Art was an all-state high school football player from Massillon, Ohio. And Massillon is a great football group. They were producing a lot of superstars in high school. So Art comes, and he had a decent season, but he came there to play football, not go to class, and so we put him on a bus going west. He basically didn't make it, so we sent him home. We just said, Art, you got to go. You're not a part of the system, so we'll put you on the bus. And I haven't kept up with where Art is now. I don't know where he is now. But overall, it was an experience. Again, there are a couple of bumps here and there. But you have to understand the cultural history of the United States at that time. But if I hadn't had the preparation say in the school, in church, the community of Ashland itself. It had a lot shaping. It was a shaping community itself.
Dr. Banks, any kind of lasting comments you'd like to give about your time at Morehead or your long career in education? Anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I would. I think a good question. Gives me a chance, when you call and ask if I would do the interview with you, it gives me a chance to go back and reflect on the 50 years. When I look at it, it was the first time that, I guess the last 2 or 3 years I was teaching, I really began to understand this process of learning and education itself. It takes a long time, and if you look at this idea of saying, well, this education is going to take place instantly, it doesn't. It takes years, and it took me years to learn to teach, because it is a continual process. It's continuing. If I focus on not on education but teaching and learning, then I could break it down into a performance of easy stages and steps, moving to freshman level, to sophomore level. And you can change this concept of critical thinking with your students. I was becoming the type of teacher that I was when I played basketball. It was very good for me to walk in a classroom and begin to shape. I don't know if Dr. Dorn knew that. He could visualize that I would, become, a professional at teaching. Teaching is really, I think, not too many professions you could look at that could really bring, the satisfaction in human behavior. I've really enjoyed it. To bring your students along with you, that again, they'll look back and think, it's an experience. So I've really enjoyed. I enjoy retirement though. Retirement is. I've been retired for 3 years now, but I'm still learning. I'm still active. I'm still involved. I still do research. I still read a lot. So it's not like I don't have anything to do. It's been a super career.
Good. Well, thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
This is a great interview.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And you've done a lot, especially for yourself and education. And going into next semester at Morehead, I'm going to think about what it was like for you. I'll try to imagine. So thank you.
Right. I certainly appreciate it. There was that freshman year. My parents and my brother, we drive up on campus. Get the room assignment, second floor, Thompson Hall, and so we were moving in. So, what an experience! That was, that was a long process, a long time ago.
The Strider that you mentioned, there's an art gallery named for him.
Yes, right, right.
I actually wondered about that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That was, he was, and I've had a chance to meet some of the other black faculty members there. They're very committed, very committed to what's going on.
I've done a lot of work with Jerry Gore over the years.
Yes, right, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I actually need to call him.
If you see Jerry, tell him I said hello
will,
for sure.
yeah,
He's a very he was the type student that you really would see, and you begin to say, well, yeah, there's something to work with. You gotta have something to work with. Yeah.
Jerry's even been on the Travel Channel for haunted places in America or something.
Oh, okay.
like
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
So,
All right.
yeah,
Okay.
He's a TV mogul now.
Okay. Yeah. My nephew is there. Lawrence Banks. Lawrence graduated music. He's teaching at Lexington High School, band director there, and he was just recently elected as an alumni rep to the Board of Regents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seems like I read a news release.
Yeah.
Oh, I never
Yeah.
yeah.
So he's there. So. It's I started a sort of a tradition there. My brother Reese went to Kentucky State, and one quick story about that. I was running track